During the wildfires that ravaged Maui in 2023, every household got $700, a one-time emergency payment of $700. Now, in North Carolina, Hurricane Milton, that's for Florida, that whole area, they got $750 per household. But today, just 5 hours ago, President Joe Biden and Kamala Harris from California just offered a total payment of $770 per person. So let me explain this to you. Maui, $700 per family, in the most expensive place in America to live. North Carolina, down during Hurricane Milton, $750 per family. But Californians get $770 per person. Per person. Per person for emergency needs. Listen.
Electric vehicles, battery walls. Then the monumental task of removing the rest of that debris can begin. It's a monumental task. And I've activated 500 Marines from the base in Pendleton to stand by to help in search and rescue, airlift support, and food and water distribution. And I want to be clear, we're not waiting until those fires are over to start helping the victims. We're getting them help right now, as you all know. People impacted by these fires are going to receive one-time payment of $770, one-time payment, so they can quickly purchase things like water, baby formula, and prescriptions. So far, nearly 6,000 survivors.
It took Joe Biden and Kamala Harris 7 days to send the military in for people in North Carolina and West Virginia that were trapped in mudslides on mountains. We're day 5 of the fires, and they have already sent in the military to help California. Now, I think that's great. That is a response we've all been hoping and looking for. But what's the difference, folks? Why such an outpouring for California in aid packages, money, and all of that, but North Carolina just totally got ignored? People suffocated under mud because they waited 7 days to even discuss releasing the helicopters and the search and rescue for those mudslides. I just don't understand. Did you know that there is a clause tucked away in your mortgage that could actually make you pay the entire lump sum of your mortgage back in one big payment? You know all this information on mortgages and land taxes and insurance. Fast forward the video about 5.5 minutes and you're going to get into the really, really good stuff. Guys, my name is Samantha, and in this video, we're going to be talking about what happens if you have a fire or a flood or anything else that damages or destroys your home. Are you on the hook for land taxes? Are you on the hook for the mortgage? And how, when disasters happen, they become a big land grab, and this is how they catch you. Welcome back to Starkey Farmstead. So I wanted to do an update video for you guys about what is going on right now in California. So a lot of people always have this question. Will I have to pay my mortgage if my house burns down? If my house gets swept off in a mudslide like North Carolina or destroyed in a hurricane in Louisiana? If you have a mortgage, yes, you are going to owe that. Now, some people know something called a gap insurance that you can have added on to your homeowner's plan, just like you do your vehicle. That gap insurance will actually pay off the remainder of the cost of the car or the house if something happens to it before you do. It does cost a lot extra every single month, but in situations like this, it might be worth it, folks, because let me tell you what I just heard this gentleman say. A deal is a deal.
If my house burns down, and I got bad news for you, yes, you do. A deal is a deal. Think of it like this. You finance a new car, you drive off the lot, the next day it gets stolen, you're still on the hook for your financing payments. It's the same thing with the mortgage. However, I'm happy to say that forbearance, which is basically what a fancy way of saying deferred payments, is possible from your mortgage servicer, not necessarily the bank from which you got your initial loan, but the servicer that's now handling the loan, Contact them if you're in this situation and work out some schedule whereby you can defer.
Now, you could get a forbearance, or even California may step in and do a moratorium, very similar to what Maui did after those fires. But let me explain this to you. You are now going to have to build a new house where an old house stood. And if you owe a mortgage on the old house, do you have the credit to get enough money to rebuild a new house and a new mortgage on top of your old house and your old mortgage? Is something to think about, because this is how they do the land grabs. Because believe it or not, you still owe your taxes on your property too.
Talk about what's going to happen to property taxes if your home is significantly damaged or destroyed. I spoke earlier with LA County Tax Assessor Jeff Prang. Here's what he said.
We're going to reduce your assessment and your property taxes for damaged or destroyed property. There is a program, it is called Misfortune and Calamity, that requires me to reduce the assessed value of your property to reflect the damage. Or
talking about property in this case, he's talking about the structure, your home, your garage, any other outlying structures that are there. He's not talking about the underlying land underneath. This is a very tricky business because the assessor told me that his office has looked at the assessed values on an average basis in the fire hit areas, and it turns out roughly 2/3 of the assessed value of these properties is the land.
The thing most people don't realize is that, yeah, the house on the property, the buildings on the property increase the value, but really 2/3 of your state land taxes, property taxes, are simply for the land. So even though the structure's burned, you're still going to have about a 2/3 of a property tax that you're going to owe for this year. So let's review. You're going to owe your mortgage payments. You're going to owe your land taxes. Now, you could opt to sell your land. Here's the thing. They're only going to want to give you pennies on the dollar for it. And then you're still, if you don't get enough for your land to pay off your mortgage, you're going to be stuck with your mortgage and still have to move and buy new property. I know. It is insanity, folks. But this is the reality with most American homes. A lot of people don't realize this. The Great Depression, do you guys know why so many people were homeless during the Great Depression? Because banks called in the mortgages. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a fine print on every mortgage in America that says the bank at any time during that 10, 15, 20, or 30-year mortgage can call in the remainder of the mortgage, and you owe it within so many days, or you lose the home and or property. It's called an acceleration clause. And what this is, it can't just happen. Something has to trigger the mortgage company to apply this clause to your debt or your mortgage, which actually means a death pledge. But here's what happens. You miss a payment. You miss one mortgage payment, and that can trigger the acceleration clause. You miss 6 months and you're definitely getting the acceleration clause. Or sometimes even disasters, or like something happens to the home. And in a lot of cases, a lack of homeowners insurance. Yes. So as the country right now realizes that homeowners insurance is becoming out of reach for millions of Americans, listen to me now. That is another way they're going to be taking Americans' homes from them. Guys, if you have a mortgage, I cannot stress enough to you. It would even be better for you to get an extended credit on a credit card, like 10 grand, if that's all you owe on your mortgage, and pay it off, and then just owe the credit card debt. Try your hardest in 2025 to get your mortgages totally paid for, folks, because something is coming. If some kind of natural disaster has hit you and you're thinking, wow, I've got all this money I'm having to pay for housing over here, my mortgage over there, clean up. I can't afford my property taxes. Folks, listen to me. They can also issue an acceleration clause if you fall behind on your property taxes, and or the sheriff's office will take your property and put your home up for a sheriff's sale. Pay your property taxes. Now, A lot of people are like, I don't understand that. Well, pull out your mortgage payments and paperwork and really read it closely. Something else I found super interesting is that this is actually a repeat of Maui. First off, Governor Green had a very interesting conversation with Governor Newsom.
Issues. I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor of down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators.
It's like they're going to be assessing your homes without you there. Now, it does sound a lot better and very streamlined, but I saw this in Maui with my own eyes on 2 separate visits directly after the fires in 2023. And what I saw was people not allowed back on their property for up to 8 months. You heard me right. And that looks like that is exactly what California is fixing to do.
Why we need this and what this means for that homeowner.
You got through the state fire marshal, CAL FIRE, working with county partners, teams of 2 go in. They will go in a property like this. They'll assess and they will photograph, and then they will post online after it's verified, about a 12-hour process, and people can go on a website. They don't have to physically be here to know if their property is damaged, and that will then begin the process for the property owner on insurance and getting us to a point where we can start the rebuild process.
There were claims that Gavin Newsom possibly was on cocaine back in, I think it was 2012, before he became governor. And he was also treated for alcoholism after he cheated on his wife. Now, I saw this upcoming clip of Gavin Newsom talking. And guys, I'm going to tell you now. You tell me, but doesn't this look like somebody that's high to you? Have a local sheriff actually said the word depopulation.
Unfortunately, that can't be said about the rest of the people. But what's the sheriff saying here? Depopulation?
And every conversation we're having about evacuations, that depopulation conversation is continuously coming up. That depopulation conversation is continuously coming up.
I don't know, folks. A lot of questions.
Tomorrow, I'm going to be discussing smart dust. You heard me right. And why that's important at this stage and what's going on in America. Folks, they're not worried about how much money they spend because they have a blank check.
Immediate assistance that's being provided.
With the FEMA, you mean?
Quite literally immediate.
Written to them by the federal government. It would have been really nice if people in Maui, into North Carolina, and West Virginia, and Florida would have gotten these same deals. Now, some people got their feelings hurt the other day when I said it made me really angry that our federal government has promised to pay 180% of the cost of everything for California when they couldn't do it for anybody else.
Because this crisis is nowhere near over, right? There are still 3,500 families without any sort of housing, and FEMA is trying to kick them out of hotels. So as of last night, I saw that FEMA did graciously allow one single extra day of housing for the people in Western North Carolina, so that they can get out of their temporary housing in the middle of a snowstorm. Also in this region, the White House the other day announced that they will be giving or they will be covering 100% of the aid and recovery efforts needed for California. So we're talking about potentially hundreds of billions of dollars over a period of 180 days. So
that's not me being upset with you, Californians. That's me being upset with the government. And that, my friend, is why the Bible says, don't get offended. Don't worry, California. Maui got 700, North Carolina got 750, but you guys get a one-time per family $770 emergency fund for food and water and maybe even a hotel if you can afford it in California. So basically what's going to happen is you have to meet the requirement. Now, a lot of people are going to say, Sam, people in California are rich, they're above the poverty line. The illegals get to apply for FEMA. And that is why FEMA was basically broke and had to go back for more money to Congress to begin with. Not disasters, illegal aliens. Speaking of illegal aliens, they caught one trying to set fire to California. And on top of that, there was a gentleman dressed as a firefighter who was looting.
Who was not a fireman, he was arrested because you can't be in this area. Now, there was another incident. I want to show you this video of a man that was found with a blowtorch. ICE sources confirming to Fox, turns out he was an illegal immigrant from Mexico. He's being held on probation, not charged with arson.
Yes.
But
early, 2 days ago, and this morning, they're still cloud seeding all over the Pacific Ocean. I wonder why.
6 a.m. East Coast time, January 13th, 2025. It out here, I guess. Appears to be at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, maybe 12, 13, 14. At least 14 ships here at this moment releasing toxins into our atmosphere called cloud brightening or ocean brightening.
Guys, like, comment, subscribe. I am praying right now whether or not the Lord is going to send me to California to do some on-ground recording and to be able to pass out money to people just like we did in Maui. I'm going to continue to pray about it. I will let you guys know if I decide to do it because I've got some friends that live in California that told me I can crash with them. So we'll see what happens. We'll see where the Lord leads his channel. But I think we probably need to get some investigative reporters there to talk to people because it just seems like Gavin Newsom is full of crap. Love you guys. Like, comment, subscribe to get the truth.